They told him he wasn't good enough, that he didn't have the level, that he should go back to his little island and forget about playing for the biggest club in the world. But sometimes the greatest revenge is success itself. Picture this: a 15-year-old boy from the Canary Islands, standing in the pristine training facilities of Real Madrid, his heart pounding, his dreams hanging in the balance. The scouts watching his every touch, every pass, every movement. And then, rejection. Cold, brutal rejection. You don't have what it takes to play here. That boy was Pedro Gonzalez Lopez. You know him as Pedri. And this is the story of how the biggest mistake Real Madrid ever made created Barcelona's greatest midfield genius. What happened next will shock you, because in just 5 years, this rejected teenager would become the most sought-after midfielder on the planet. He would make Real Madrid regret their decision every single day, and he would prove that sometimes being told no is exactly what you need to become unstoppable. But first, let me tell you about a young boy growing up in Teguise, one of the Canary Islands, a place where football dreams seemed as distant as the mainland, where playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid was something you watched on television, not something you could actually achieve. Pedri wasn't born into football royalty. His father worked as a taxi driver and coach at the local club. His mother worked in a hotel. They were ordinary people with an extraordinary son who had something special in his feet, something that couldn't be taught, something that was pure magic. From the age of 5, little Pedro was already different. While other kids kicked the ball with force, he caressed it. While others ran straight, he danced around opponents. His first coach at CF Teguise knew immediately this wasn't just another talented kid. This was something else entirely. But here's the thing about raw talent. It needs to be spotted. It needs to be nurtured. It needs someone to believe in it. And for Pedri, that belief would come from the most unexpected place. At 14, scouts from Las Palmas noticed this small midfielder who played football like he was conducting an orchestra. They brought him to Gran Canaria, away from his family, away from everything he knew, into the uncertainty of professional football. It was his first real test, his first taste of what it meant to chase a dream. And that's when Real Madrid came calling. Imagine being 15 years old and receiving an invitation to train with Real Madrid, the club of Di Stefano, Zidane, and Ronaldo, the club that had won more Champions League titles than anyone else, the club that every Spanish footballer dreams of representing. Real Madrid invited Pedri for a trial when he was 15 years old. This was it. This was his moment. The chance to prove he belonged among football's elite. But Real Madrid saw something different. They saw a small, skinny kid from an island nobody talks about. They saw someone who didn't fit their physical profile. Someone who couldn't match their intensity. Someone who, in their eyes, simply wasn't Real Madrid material. Barcelona's teenage sensation Pedri Gonzalez has opened up on his experience of attending a trial at Real Madrid earlier in his career. Years later, Barcelona midfielder Pedri admits being rejected by Real Madrid as a team still leaves him baffled. The rejection stung. How could it not? But here's what Real Madrid didn't see. They didn't see the intelligence in his passes. They didn't see how he could thread a ball through spaces that didn't exist. They didn't see how he could control the tempo of a game with just his positioning. They saw the player he was, not the player he could become. And that's exactly where Barcelona saw opportunity. Barcelona's scouting network is built differently. They don't just look for physical specimens. They look for football intelligence. They look for technique. They look for players who understand the game in ways that can't be measured with a stopwatch or a measuring tape. While Pedri continued developing at Las Palmas, Barcelona were watching. They were studying every match, every touch, every decision. They saw a 16-year-old midfielder who was already bossing games against grown men in the Segunda División. They saw something Real Madrid had missed entirely. And in 2020, they made their move. The transfer fee was relatively modest by today's standards, around 5 million euros with add-ons potentially reaching 25 million. But Barcelona weren't just buying a player. They were buying a philosophy, a way of thinking about football that perfectly matched their DNA. Pedri's enjoyed a stellar rise since signing for the Catalan Giants from Las Palmas in the summer of 2020. But here's where the story gets absolutely insane. because what happened next shouldn't have been possible for any teenager, let alone one who had been rejected by Real Madrid just a few years earlier. Ronald Koeman was Barcelona's manager when Pedri arrived. Koeman had a reputation for trusting young players, but even he couldn't have predicted what was about to unfold. In preseason training, this quiet 17-year-old was keeping pace with players like Sergio Busquets and Frenkie de Jong. He wasn't just keeping pace, he was teaching them things. His first official match for Barcelona was against Villarreal on September 27, 2020. He was 17 years old, making his La Liga debut for the biggest club in Catalonia. Most teenagers would have been overwhelmed by the occasion. Pedri played like he'd been doing it his entire life. But that was just the beginning. What happened over the next 12 months was nothing short of extraordinary. He's become not just a regular, but a key player for Barca in Spain, winning the Copa del Rey and picking up a silver medal at the Tokyo Olympics. Let me paint you a picture of just how ridiculous Pedri's breakthrough season was. He played 52 matches for club and country. 52 matches in his debut season. At 17 years old, most established players don't play that many games. But Pedri wasn't just playing, he was dominating. His performances for Spain at Euro 2020 were particularly mesmerizing. Here was a teenager in his first major tournament, playing alongside experienced internationals and making them look ordinary by comparison. He completed more passes than any other player in the tournament. His passing accuracy was supernatural. His vision was decades ahead of his age. And then came the recognition that nobody saw coming. Pedri, Spain was the Golden Boy Award winner of 2021. Playing for Barcelona at the time, he won the award. The Golden Boy Award, given to the best young player in European football. Pedri, 18, becomes the first Barca player since Lionel Messi in 2005 to win the prize given to the best young player in Europe. Think about that for a moment. The first Barcelona player since Messi to win this award. Messi, the greatest player in Barcelona's history, arguably the greatest player of all time. And here was this kid from the Canary Islands following in his footsteps. But the awards didn't stop there. The following week, he also received the 2021 Copa Trophy, awarded by France Football, for being the best performing player in world football under the age of 21. Pedri picked 318 points in the voting, 199 points, more than second-placed Jude Bellingham on 119, the biggest difference between the winner and runner-up in the awards history. The biggest difference in the awards history. This wasn't just recognition, this was domination. Real Madrid executives must have been watching these awards ceremonies through their fingers. The player they had dismissed as not having the level was now being recognized as the best young player in the world. But here's what makes Pedri's story even more remarkable. It's not just about the awards or the recognition. It's about how he plays football. It's about the way he sees the game that others can't. The player enjoys playing on the front foot, driving at his direct opponent, and having his passes break the defensive lines. Watch Pedri play, and you'll see something extraordinary. His first touch is always perfect. His body position is always optimal. He receives the ball facing forward even when it seems impossible. He finds passes that other players don't even see. And he does all of this with a calmness that suggests he's playing a casual kickabout with friends rather than elite-level professional football. There's a particular moment from his debut season that perfectly captures Pedri's genius. Barcelona were playing against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League round of 16. One of the biggest matches in football. Against Mbappe, Neymar, and Verratti. The kind of match where experience matters more than anything. Pedri was 18 years old. He had no business being the best player on the pitch. But for 90 minutes, he conducted Barcelona's midfield like a master puppeteer. Every pass was weighted perfectly. Every decision was made with ice-cold precision. He made Verratti, one of the best midfielders in the world, look ordinary. That match announced to the football world that Pedri wasn't just a promising youngster. He was already world-class, and Real Madrid were forced to watch from the sidelines as their reject became Barcelona's crown jewel. The Clásico meetings between Barcelona and Real Madrid took on a different meaning with Pedri in the team. Here was living proof that Real Madrid's talent identification wasn't infallible. Every time he touched the ball against them, every pass, every dribble, every moment of magic was a reminder of what they had let slip through their fingers. On February 13th, 2022, Pedri scored the fastest Derby Barcelona goal of the 21st century, clocking in at 75 seconds in a 2-2 draw against Espanyol. Even against Barcelona's city rivals, Pedri was rewriting record books. But success at this level comes with a price. The pressure, the expectation, the physical demands of playing so many matches at such a young age. It all takes its toll. Later that year, on April 14th, Pedri picked up a hamstring injury during Barcelona's second-legged quarterfinal Europa League clash with Frankfurt, in which they were eliminated. Subsequently, it was announced that Pedri could miss the rest of the season. Injuries are part of football, but for a player like Pedri, being sidelined feels like being separated from oxygen. Football isn't just what he does, it's who he is. The months of recovery were perhaps the most challenging period of his young career. But great players don't just recover from setbacks, they come back stronger. And that's exactly what Pedri did. His return to fitness coincided with Barcelona's resurgence under Xavi Hernandez. Having a former Barcelona midfield legend as coach was perfect for Pedri's development. Xavi understood better than anyone what it meant to control matches from the center of the pitch. He could see the parallels between his own playing style and Pedri's natural instincts. Under Xavi's guidance, Pedri's game reached new heights. His positioning became even more intelligent. His press resistance became virtually unbreakable. His ability to find space in tight areas became supernatural. Pedri, age 22. Market value, €137.9 million. Think about that market valuation for a moment. €137.9 million. For a player that Real Madrid once deemed not good enough. For a 22-year-old who has barely scratched the surface of his potential. But market value is just numbers on a screen. What really matters is impact. What really matters is how a player changes games, changes teams, changes football itself. And by that measure, Pedri is priceless. His impact on Barcelona's playing style has been transformational. Before Pedri, Barcelona's midfield sometimes lacked dynamism. They could control possession, but struggled to create genuine danger. Pedri changed that completely. His ability to arrive late in the box, his eye for the killer pass, his willingness to take risks. He brought an unpredictability that Barcelona had been missing. For Spain, his importance is even more profound. The national team had struggled to find a natural successor to the golden generation of Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. They had technically gifted players, but nobody who could truly dictate the rhythm of matches. Pedri filled that void completely. His performances at Euro 2020 as a teenager were remarkable enough. But what he's doing now, in his early 20s, is reaching levels that few midfielders in history have achieved. He's not just participating in matches, he's authoring them. Pedri was called up to Spain's UEFA Euro 2024 squad despite not having been featured in the national side since the World Cup due to prolonged injury issues. The fact that Spain included him in their Euro 2024 squad despite his injury struggles shows just how indispensable he has become. Real Madrid's mistake becomes more glaring with each passing season. While they've spent hundreds of millions of euros trying to solve their midfield puzzle, the answer to their problems was right there in that 15-year-old boy they rejected. Imagine Pedri playing alongside Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., and Mbappe. Imagine him in that iconic white shirt, conducting Real Madrid's attacks with the same genius he now shows for Barcelona. It could have been their reality. Instead, it became their biggest regret. But perhaps that rejection was exactly what Pedri needed. Perhaps being told he wasn't good enough gave him the motivation to become better than good enough. Perhaps Barcelona was always his destiny. There's something poetic about a player rejected by Real Madrid becoming the heartbeat of Barcelona. It's David versus Goliath. It's proof that sometimes the biggest institutions get it spectacularly wrong. It's evidence that talent can't always be measured in trials or training sessions. Pedri's story is still being written. At 22, he has already achieved more than most players manage in entire careers. Golden Boy winner, Copa Trophy winner, European Championship silver medalist, La Liga winner, Copa del Rey winner. The list of honors continues to grow. But individual awards and team trophies are just the external validation. What really sets Pedri apart is the way he thinks about football, the way he sees patterns that others miss, the way he can slow down time with his first touch and speed it up with his passing. He plays football like it's an art form. Every match is a canvas. Every pass is a brushstroke. Every moment of magic is a masterpiece in the making. And the most incredible part, he's just getting started. The frightening truth for Barcelona's rivals is that Pedri hasn't reached his peak yet. He's still developing physically. He's still learning tactically. He's still adding new dimensions to his game. What we're seeing now is just a preview of what's to come. Real Madrid will spend the rest of Pedri's career wondering what might have been. Every Clásico, every Champions League meeting, every individual award he wins will serve as a reminder of their colossal error in judgment. They had the chance to sign the best midfielder of his generation for nothing. They let him slip away because they couldn't see past his physical limitations to recognize his football genius. That decision will haunt them for decades. Meanwhile, Barcelona supporters watch Pedri with the knowledge that they're witnessing something special. Not just a talented footballer, but a player who embodies everything their club represents. Technical excellence, tactical intelligence, the ability to make the impossible look routine. He wears the number 8 shirt with pride, knowing it was once worn by legends like Iniesta. But Pedri isn't trying to be the next Iniesta. He's trying to be the first Pedri. And in doing so, he's creating his own legend. This is the story of how rejection became motivation, how a mistake became a masterpiece, how a Real Madrid reject became the best midfielder in the world. Sometimes the greatest successes are born from the deepest disappointments. Sometimes being told you're not good enough is exactly what you need to become unstoppable. And sometimes the clubs that think they know everything learn that they know nothing at all. Pedri Gonzalez Lopez. Remember that name, because this Real Madrid reject isn't just playing football, he's revolutionizing it. One perfect pass at a time.